What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six podcast show here on CBS Sports HQ. Will Brinson joined by Brian McFadden and John Breach for the next little bit as we talk some NFL. Apparently, somebody realized there's no NBA games tonight and hit the panic button and called us in to save the day with some NFL chatter. Just kidding. NFL is always exciting to do. And we're going to start with, it used to be the NFC West was like the division that terrified everybody. And this offseason flipped everything on its head with the AFC West becoming the scariest division in football. BMAC, when you look at, this division and all the new pieces that came in, whether it's Russell Wilson or Devontae Adams, Khalil Mack, how do you think these teams stack up? And do you see the AFC, how do you see the AFC West sort of shaking out with all these acquisitions?
I mean, I think this division, when you look at the other divisions in the National Football League, they stack up as being the best. And the reason why I go that direction, when you look at the quarterbacks, right, the star power they all have at the quarterback positions in the AFC West has been well documented. You talk about adding Russell Wilson, who we believe will be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done, already hoisting a sticky Lombardi, having that in his resume. Then you look at Pat Mahomes. He seems like he is the forgotten quarterback in this division because of some of the other headlines some of the other teams have made, but he is still there. You look at the up-and-coming Justin Herbert, and oh, by the way, what about Derek Carr, a guy who has been, not considered to be some of the elites of the elite at that position, but yet and still, this is a guy who's been playing real top-level football over the last few years, and one would think he will continue to do the same thing under the tutelage of Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up Derek Carr, B-Mac, because that really speaks to the power of the AFC West. Derek Carr is arguably the worst quarterback in the division, but what does that even mean? Because he would be the second best quarterback in multiple other NFL divisions. That just tells you how stacked it is. And to see what these teams added this offseason, I think one of the most fascinating teams right now in that division is the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, we saw them give up Tyreek Hill. So what did Andy Reid do? He's out there thinking, you know what, I'm just going to go grab a bunch of receivers this offseason like a Yahtzee cup and just shake it out and hope something comes out in my favor. It wasn't just using a draft pick on Sky Moore. Juju Smith-Schuster. We saw Marquez Valdez-Scantling now in Kansas City. Corey Coleman's in Kansas City. I mean, if anyone can rejuvenate that guy's career, it is probably Patrick Mahomes. So you have the Chiefs adding weapons. You have the Broncos adding a quarterback. You have the Raiders trading for one of the best receivers in the NFL. And then you have the Chargers. What do the Chargers do? I got to check my – they signed Gerald Everett. So they are really focusing. Obviously, they got Khalil Mack. They got the defensive firepower, not so much the offensive firepower, but you know what? They have a strong team, and the AFC West is absolutely stacked from top to bottom.
Yeah, there's a chance that we see, a small one, right, that all four AFC West teams could make the playoffs. The problem, like when you think about that logic is, they have to play each other twice, right? Like each team has to play the other three teams twice. And I don't even know what the math would be. Maybe they could tie every single division game and then split. Like more than likely, you're going to get three teams in the playoffs. It's a loaded AFC, by the way. It's going to end up with likely somebody, a good team or two good teams missing out on the playoffs. I think it's maybe more interesting when you look at the AFC West to focus in on these win totals. And so I'm curious, BMAC, if you look at one particular win total, what stands out to you from the AFC West?
Well, it's the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. I think their win total is currently at 10. I go over, and here's why. Justin Herbert, up-and-coming superstar. Right. And with that being said, what did the Chargers do? They added more pieces to the puzzle around Justin Herbert. You brought back Mike Williams, and you look at Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, the ultimate 1-2 punch. They can coexist almost in any offense against any defense. You talked about Breach adding Gerald Everett. He's a guy who has athleticism at the tight end position. He will do numbers because the thing about this, when you have Mike Williams, you have Keenan Allen, he will have favorable matchups in his favor. Then you look at the draft, going to get my favorite interior offensive lineman in Zion Johnson with the first-round selection. Remember what they did last year in getting Rashawn Slater as well, the ultimate left tackle protecting the blind side of Justin Herbert. I think this offense was going to be phenomenal. And then when you transition to the defensive side, guys, you already had Bosa, who was a nightmare for any opposing tackle he faced, offensive tackle. But then you go out and get Khalil Mack. You remove Khalil Mack from the Windy City, where his muscles might not have been as lubed up as it potentially could be in better weather to play indoors. We will see a rejuvenated Khalil Mack. Oh, also, can't forget about the ball-hawking corner, J.C. Jackson, who they added from the New England Patriots. We know how difficult this division will be. But when you look at the balance on both sides of the football, along with the experience, I, for one, believe that win total of 10 will easily be surpassed by the Los Angeles Chargers this year.
How about you,
I like
Breach?
that, B-Mac.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I like that, B-Mac. I was thinking about taking that one, but I went with the Broncos. But before I get to that, Brinson, I noticed you mentioned that maybe all 4 teams can make it. I know math is not your forte, but they play 6 division games. So if they split them all, they go 3-3. They win all the other games. All 4 teams in that division can finish 14-3. I think, maybe. Now you got to check my math. The over I took here was the Broncos, who have the same over-under number as the Chargers at exactly 10. Well, you know what? I like the over with Denver. And here's the thing, is that the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Chargers, they all feel pretty evenly matched. Maybe the Raiders are a slight tier below them. But the thing that really sets these teams apart for me is I feel like the Broncos have a small edge with the schedule. They finished in last place in 2021. They get the last place schedule, which means they get to face the Carolina Panthers. The other teams in the AFC West don't. They get to face the New York Jets. The other teams in the AFC West don't. So they have a couple games that should be, on paper, easier to win. And I think something small like that is going to be enough to put the Broncos over the top and get them over 10 wins. Obviously, they have Russell Wilson. Obviously, they have plenty of weapons. And, when you talk about Russell Wilson, that is a guy who, in the 9 seasons where he was fully healthy with the Seahawks, they won 10 or more games in 8 of those 9 seasons. I think he does it again in his first year in Denver.
You mentioned 9 seasons. You know who's been in Kansas City for 9 seasons now? Andy Reid. Let's list his win totals since he got to KC and started wearing those Hawaiian shirts. 11, 9, 11, 12, 10, 12, 12, 14, 12. And when you look at the 12, 12, 14, 12, last year, first year ever for Andy Reid to go under the win total, and they still won 12. Since Patrick Mahomes took over as the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, he and Andy Reid have not won less than 12 games. Yes, Tyreek Hill is now gone, but the Chiefs have added a lot this offseason. I think underrated moves, getting Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I'm not saying those guys are Tyreek Hill, because they're not. But they are certainly weapons who, with the way that Andy Reid operates this offense, you can put Sky Moore in the slot. You can put Juju in the slot. You can have Valdes-Scantling running these deep routes. He's a huge vertical asset, and Mahomes is going to get comfortable with these guys and start to cook. And we're just getting a ton of value here for the Chiefs at 10 or 10.5, depending on where you get it. For their win total. I mean, this, again, a team that hasn't won less than 12 games since Patrick Mahomes took over as a starting quarterback. Yes, I understand the division is harder. Yes, the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos are all good. Am I worried about it? No. Well, I keep asking myself rhetorical questions about this division until I finally convince everyone else that the Chiefs are the best team in the division. Yes, probably. So, with that being said, B-Mac, who's your pick to win the division this year? Or best value bet?
I'm going to keep it with the same theme with the Chargers. I'm going back out to Los Angeles. I'm taking the Chargers to win the division, and here's why. When you look at the quarterback, I think Justin Herbert will put up MVP-like numbers. Another year of experience in the NFL as a starting quarterback. Austin Eckler, if he is healthy, he's one of the more balanced running backs in this division, along with the addition of, like I said, bringing back Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, the offensive line, the structure is there. But the reason why I'm so hyped about what they are doing in totality with this team is their defense. I mean, you got Jerry Tillery, you brought in Khalil Mack, you got Bosa, you got Kenneth Murray Jr., you brought in J.C. Jackson and paired with Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, this defense will be a nightmare when you look at the value at plus 250. So the quarterback play is high level. The defense, the edge rushers, high level. The secondary, high level. We know what type of duo in the pass catchers they have with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So me personally, I know it's going to be a gauntlet to get through this division because it would be oh so competitive. But I believe the Chargers, in my opinion, especially year 2 with Brendan Staley, not playing Madden anymore, but actually coaching the game like it's real life and not going for it every fourth down opportunity. If he can master that ability, they would easily win this division. Give me the Chargers, plus 250.
Yeah, the producers must really like us today because we're going to be picking different teams this whole time. BMAC, I love the plus 250 value, except I don't love it with the Chargers. I love it with the Denver Broncos. Look, you saw what Denver did last season. It was almost rock bottom. They went 7-10, and that was mostly because they had a disastrous situation at quarterback. Let me just tell you this. Of those 10 losses, the Broncos scored 14 points or less in 7 games last season. They went 0-7 in those games. Their offense couldn't score points. And if you can't score points, you are not going to win in the NFL, no matter how good your defense is. Well, how do you solve that? You get rid of your quarterback. You ship Drew Lock out to Washington State, and you bring in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is going to lead that offense 2 points. The defense is already good. It just needs a little bit of help from the offense, and I think it's going to get more than a little bit of help. I think it's going to get a lot of help from Russell Wilson. I think the Broncos turn into scoring machines this year. They're not going to have 7 games with under 14 points. So I think the Broncos turn things around, win 11 or 12 games, and take home the division title.
You guys are a bunch of Johnny-come-latelys looking to jump on the trendy bandwagons. You know what I like is old, reliable, big red Patrick Mahomes. I mentioned it with their win total. They are getting – this is a insane discount and a price tag for the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand how good the rest of the division is. I understand Tyreek Hill is no longer there. They still have a ton of weapons, and they added 4 early round pieces on defense, so that defense should be improved from what it was a few weeks ago. There are absolutely red flags about this team, but as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and I'm getting plus money, plus 160, I am taking the Chiefs all freaking day long to win the division. Easy pick for me. I'm happy to let Russell Wilson or Justin Herbert make me look stupid. Or Derek Carr. No offense to Derek Carr, who, as Breach points out, maybe he actually probably is the worst quarterback in the division in the history of professional football, which is pretty crazy. All right, we got more to cover, including a talk on the AFC North coming up next. Hey, if you want some more podcast action, make sure to download and subscribe to the Pick 6 Podcast, your daily NFL fix with, that's me, Will Brinson.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.